Welcome to GoReadling Bedtime Stories, presented by GoReadling.com, personalized education and reading skills for kids. Subscribe now so you don't miss our daily bedtime stories. Find a comfortable spot, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and let our story carry you gently off to sleep. Tonight's story is called Stone Soup. Far, far away, beyond the whispering woods and over gentle rolling hills, where the sky met the earth in a soft haze of twilight blue, 3 weary travelers named Leo, Mia, and Finn found themselves at the edge of a small, quiet village. The day had been long, and their journey even longer, stretching like a forgotten ribbon behind them. Their boots, though sturdy, felt heavy with the dust of many paths, and their stomachs rumbled with a tune as empty as an echo in a deep cave. As they approached, the air grew still, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke and damp earth, a promise of shelter and perhaps a warm meal. The village itself seemed to huddle close, as if shy, with little cottages nestled together under sleepy thatched roofs, their windows glowing with the warm, buttery light of evening lamps, beckoning them closer to the heart of the community, where their adventure was about to truly begin. Leo, the tallest of the 3, with kind eyes that seemed to hold the twinkle of distant stars, peered ahead, his gaze sweeping over the silent houses. Mia, whose red cloak fluttered gently in the evening breeze, wrapped her arms around herself, not just from the cooling air, but from a growing sense of unease. Finn, the youngest, with a cheerful whistle usually on his lips, now walked with a quiet determination, his gaze fixed on the path, his small pack feeling heavier with every step. The sounds of their approach, the soft crunch of their boots on the gravel path, and the gentle creak of their satchels, seemed unusually loud in the stillness, as if the village itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what these strangers would bring with them, or perhaps what they might take. As they stepped into the village square, a hush fell even deeper. The few villagers who had been finishing their chores or gathering water from the well paused, their movements slow and wary, their faces etched with a cautious curiosity. Their eyes, though kind, held a glint of suspicion, a silent question hanging in the air like the fading light. It was clear that visitors were a rare sight in this tucked-away place. The travelers offered soft smiles and gentle nods, trying to convey their peaceful intentions, but the villagers simply watched, their hands clasped, their shoulders a little hunched, as if preparing for a chill wind to blow through their quiet lives, wondering what stories these new faces carried. Leo, understanding the unspoken worries, cleared his throat, his voice a warm, low rumble. "Good evening, good people," he said, his words floating softly through the twilight. "We are but simple travelers, passing through your lovely village on our way to the next valley. We mean no harm, only to rest our weary feet for the night." Mia offered a gentle wave, her smile radiating a warmth that she hoped would melt away some of the villagers' apprehension. Finn, ever eager to connect, gave a small, friendly nod, his eyes sparkling with an innocent charm, trying to show that they were not to be feared, but welcomed, as tired souls often are, seeking a moment of peace before continuing on their winding journey. Despite their friendly overtures, the villagers remained distant. Old women quickly pulled their children closer, their gazes still fixed on the strangers. Men shifted their weight from foot to foot, their hands resting on tools, a silent readiness in their stance. When Leo politely inquired if there might be a spare crust of bread or a sip of warm broth, a murmur rippled through the small crowd. Faces turned downcast, and one by one the villagers began to shake their heads, mumbling apologies. "We have little to spare," said a woman, her voice soft but firm. "Times are hard," added a man, his eyes avoiding theirs. "Truly, we have no food to offer tonight." It seemed their hopes for a warm meal were fading as quickly as the last light of day. Leo, however, with a knowing twinkle in his eye, did not let his smile falter. He knew a thing or two about generosity hidden behind cautious hearts. "No matter, good people," he declared, his voice rising just a little, carrying a note of cheerful surprise. "If you have no food, then we shall simply make our famous stone soup." His words seemed to hang in the air, a curious sound that drew the villagers a little closer, their suspicion momentarily replaced by a flicker of bewildered interest. Stone soup? What kind of magic was this, they wondered, that could turn a simple stone into a meal when their own cupboards stood empty and their bellies longed for warmth? Mia, catching Leo's playful glance, nodded in agreement, a secret smile playing on her lips. "Oh yes," she added, her voice a little dreamy. "Our stone soup is truly something special. It warms the heart as much as it fills the belly." Finn, not to be outdone, bounced on the balls of his feet, his enthusiasm infectious. "It's the best soup in all the world," he chirped, his eyes wide with a pretend seriousness. The villagers exchanged bewildered looks, their murmurs growing louder, a mixture of doubt and burgeoning curiosity. They had heard of many kinds of soup: vegetable soup, chicken soup, bean soup, but never, ever had they heard of a soup made from a stone, and the very idea began to tickle their imaginations, pulling them into the traveler's intriguing story. Leo then explained with a grand gesture, "All we need is a very large pot, one that can hold enough for everyone in this lovely village." He looked around expectantly, his gaze sweeping over the faces, inviting them to join in this unusual adventure. "And, of course," he continued, "plenty of fresh, clean water, and a good, strong fire to make it all bubble and brew." The villagers, still unsure but undeniably intrigued, looked at each other, a silent debate passing between them. A large pot? Water? Fire? These were things they had, even if food was scarce. Slowly, cautiously, a few nodded, their curiosity outweighing their initial wariness, a flicker of hope igniting in their eyes as they considered this strange and wonderful idea. Soon, a sense of quiet activity began to stir in the village square. A sturdy, black iron pot, large enough to feed a small army, was brought out from beside the communal well, its surface gleaming faintly in the deepening twilight. Children, their initial shyness forgotten, watched with wide, excited eyes as buckets of fresh, clear water were fetched and poured into the pot. A crackling fire, fed with dry twigs and small logs, was coaxed into life beneath it, sending plumes of sweet-smelling wood smoke swirling up into the indigo sky, making the air feel cozy and warm. The travelers, with gentle smiles, chose a perfectly smooth, clean, round riverstone, not too big, not too small, and with a flourish, Leo carefully placed it into the bubbling pot of water, as if it were the most precious ingredient in the world, the heart of their magical meal. The water in the pot began to shimmer and dance, tiny bubbles rising to the surface with soft, whispering sounds, and the fire beneath crackled merrily, casting flickering shadows that made the stone seem to glow. Mia leaned in close, sniffing the steam with an exaggerated sigh of contentment. "Oh, this is going to be magnificent," she declared, her voice filled with a playful longing. "But wouldn't it be absolutely perfect if only we had a tiny pinch of salt, just a whisper of salt to bring out the stone's hidden flavors?" Her words were spoken softly, almost to herself, but they drifted through the quiet gathering of villagers, who were now completely captivated, their eyes fixed on the mysterious pot, listening intently to every word. Old Farmer McGregor, a man with a weathered face and hands like gnarled oak branches, had been leaning on his fence, his brow furrowed in thought, listening to Mia's gentle lament. He usually kept to himself, a man of few words and even fewer smiles. But the thought of a soup, even one made from a stone, missing something so simple as a pinch of salt, seemed to bother him. He grumbled, a low sound that rumbled in his chest. "Well, I suppose I have a bit of salt to spare. Wouldn't do for a soup to be entirely without a bit of seasoning, even if it is just a stone." With slow, deliberate steps, he ambled towards his small cottage, and soon returned with a small cloth pouch from which he carefully poured a handful of gleaming white salt into Mia's outstretched palm, adding a tiny sparkle to the bubbling water. Mia thanked him with a warm, genuine smile, her eyes twinkling as she sprinkled the salt into the pot, watching it disappear into the swirling water like tiny melting snowflakes. The aroma of steam, now subtly seasoned, wafted through the air, carrying a promise of something more. Finn, ever the next to add to the delightful deception, then mused aloud, peering thoughtfully into the depths of the pot. It's getting there, it truly is. But you know what would make this soup truly, absolutely special? A few potatoes. Just a couple of small, earthy potatoes would give it such a wonderful heartiness, a softness that would make it truly unforgettable. His words hung in the air, painting a delicious picture in the minds of the watching villagers, who could almost taste the imagined creaminess. Young Elara, a girl with bright, curious eyes and hair the color of sun-ripened wheat, had been standing closest to the pot, her small hands clasped together, completely enchanted by the traveler's gentle magic. Her tummy had been rumbling quietly for a while, and the thought of soft, warm potatoes swirling in the broth made her heart flutter with a quiet excitement. Hearing Finn's hopeful suggestion, her eyes grew wide, and without a moment's hesitation, she turned on her heel and, like a small, swift bird, ran home to her family's cottage. It wasn't long before she reappeared, clutching two small, lumpy potatoes, their skins still dotted with fresh earth, offering them with a shy but eager smile to the travelers, her generosity a pure and simple gift. Mia gently took the potatoes from Elara, her fingers brushing the girl's small hand, and thanked her with genuine warmth. With a soft wooden knife, she carefully peeled the thin skins away, revealing the pale, creamy flesh beneath, and then diced them into small, bite-sized pieces, each thudding softly as it dropped into the simmering water. The fire crackled with renewed vigor, and the steam that rose from the pot carried a new, comforting scent, the earthy promise of potatoes slowly softening, their starch gently thickening the water, hinting at a truly hearty meal. The villagers, now completely drawn in, watched with growing anticipation, their faces reflecting a mixture of wonder and a quiet, budding hope, as the simple stone soup began to take on a more substantial form, piece by delicious piece. As the soup continued to simmer, its fragrance growing richer and more inviting, a soft murmuring began to spread among the villagers, no longer of suspicion, but of shared delight. One woman, a shy baker with flowers still dusting her apron, stepped forward hesitantly. I think I might have a few carrots," she offered, her voice a little shy. "Just a handful from my garden. They're not very big, but they're sweet." With a nod from Leo, she hurried home, returning with a small bundle of bright orange carrots, their green tops still fresh and vibrant, and added them to the pot, their color a cheerful splash in the simmering liquid. The orange stirred into the pale broth, a lovely contrast against the white of the potatoes, promising a touch of sweetness and a lovely crunch. The sight of the carrots joining the potatoes seemed to loosen the villagers' reluctance even more. Soon after, a kind-faced man, who spent his days tending a small vegetable patch, approached the pot, holding a single round onion in his hand. "And I," he announced, his voice a little clearer now, "I have an onion, a good, strong one, for flavor." Mia took the onion with a grateful smile, her nimble fingers quickly peeling away its papery skin, revealing the pearly layers beneath. As she chopped it, a faint, sweet sharpness wafted into the air, mingling with the other smells, promising a depth of taste and a warmth that would spread through the broth, making the stone soup even more wonderfully complex and delicious, drawing everyone closer with its inviting aroma. The additions continued, each one a small ripple in the growing wave of generosity. A sturdy farmer, his brow furrowed with a lifetime of working the land, remembered a small, leafy head of cabbage he had left in his cellar. "It's just a bit," he muttered, "but perhaps it would add some crunch." He brought it forth, its sturdy green leaves a beautiful sight, and soon thin strips of it were floating in the pot, lending a fresh, earthy scent. The cabbage, so often overlooked, now added a vibrant green to the simmering broth, a lovely counterpoint to the orange carrots and white potatoes, making the soup a kaleidoscope of garden colors, a feast for the eyes as well as the nose, truly making the simple stone the heart of a grander meal. Then came the delicate touches, the whispers of flavor that elevate a good soup to a truly magnificent one. A quiet old woman with wise eyes and nimble fingers appeared with a small tied bundle of dried herbs from her window box. "A sprig of thyme, perhaps," she suggested softly, "and a little bay leaf for good measure." Mia gratefully accepted the aromatic gift, her smile conveying deep appreciation. She carefully crumbled the dried thyme and dropped the smooth bay leaf into the pot, and instantly a new, complex fragrance bloomed in the air, a scent of the earth and sun, promising a deep, soothing warmth, making the soup's aroma dance and swirl, inviting everyone to breathe deeply and anticipate the delightful flavors to come, turning simple water into a potion of comfort. And then a truly unexpected treasure appeared. Old Man Hemlock, known for his delicious cured meats, though he rarely shared, approached with a small wrapped parcel. "I found this," he said, a hint of pride in his voice. "A small piece of smoked meat, left over from last week's curing. It would give the soup a bit of character." He unwrapped it, revealing a small, dark piece of rich, smoky meat. Finn, eyes wide, carefully dropped it into the pot, watching as it slowly began to release its savory essence into the simmering liquid. Each contribution, small on its own, was building on the last, adding layers of flavor, texture, and color, transforming the simple stone and water into a rich, fragrant tapestry of taste, a testament to the growing spirit of sharing among the villagers, whose initial reluctance had vanished entirely. Before long, the pot, which had started with just a stone and water, was overflowing with a rich, fragrant, and hearty soup. Its steam, thick and warm, rose into the cool night air, carrying the delicious aroma of simmering vegetables, savory meat, and fragrant herbs, making everyone's mouths water and their stomachs rumble with happy anticipation. The colors were vibrant, the deep orange of carrots, the pale cream of potatoes, the dark green of cabbage, all swirling together in a broth that had turned from clear to a comforting golden brown. It was far more than anyone had imagined, more abundant, more beautiful, and certainly more delicious than any of them had dared to hope for. A true feast born from simple gestures. Leo, Mia, and Finn, their faces glowing with satisfaction, looked at the villagers, whose faces now shone with smiles and eager expectation. "The soup is ready," Leo announced, his voice ringing with joy. "Come, everyone, there is more than enough for all of us to share." The travelers produced a few simple wooden bowls and spoons from their packs, and soon the villagers began to gather their own, forming a quiet, excited line. The rich, steaming soup was ladled out, each bowl a steaming microcosm of their collective generosity, its warmth radiating not just from the broth, but from the shared moment, a magical transformation of a simple stone into a feast for many. The entire village gathered around the communal fire, the golden glow dancing on their happy faces as they shared bowls of the delicious stone soup. Children giggled as they slurped spoonfuls, their eyes bright with wonder and delight. Adults, their initial wariness long forgotten, chatted and laughed, their voices soft and contented, sharing stories and jokes as they savored each warm, flavorful bite. They realized, with a gentle sense of surprise and a quiet warmth spreading through their hearts, that they had plenty when they shared what little they had. The very act of giving, of each person offering a small something, had created an abundance that none could have achieved alone, and the simple stone had truly worked its magic, not just on the soup, but on their very spirits. As the last embers of the fire glowed softly, casting long, peaceful shadows across the quiet village square, the travelers watched the content villagers, their hearts full of a quiet joy. They knew their work was done here. The next morning, before the first blush of dawn painted the sky with gentle pinks and purples, Leo, Mia, and Finn had quietly departed. Their footsteps left no trace on the dewy path, their departure as soft and gentle as the whisper of a summer breeze. They left behind only the clean, smooth stone, nestled at the bottom of the now empty pot, a silent reminder of the magic that had unfolded. But more importantly, they left behind a newly discovered spirit of generosity and community among the villagers, a warmth that would linger long after the memory of the actual taste of the soup had faded, a lesson learned in the soft glow of a shared meal. The villagers never forgot the magic of sharing, and the simple, smooth stone became a treasured symbol, placed carefully in the village hall, reminding everyone of the evening when a little became a lot, when suspicion turned to warmth, and when individual kindnesses wove together to create a tapestry of belonging. They learned that true richness wasn't found in what they kept hidden, but in what they generously offered. The once cautious village slowly blossomed into a place known for its open hearts and helping hands, where laughter echoed more often, and worries seemed to melt away in the shared warmth of friendship. The memory of the travelers, though their faces might dim with time, stayed bright in the spirit they had sparked, a gentle, glowing ember of kindness that continued to burn brightly in the heart of their community, a soft and comforting light against the longest nights, a quiet hum of togetherness that made their little corner of the world a truly special place, filled with simple, everyday wonders. Now, as the moonlight spills like silver dust through your window, and the world outside grows sleepy and still, remember the quiet magic of sharing and how even the smallest kindness can create the most wonderful things. Close your eyes, my dear, and let your dreams be as warm and comforting as that delicious stone soup, filled with happy faces and soft laughter. Rest now, snug and safe in your cozy bed, knowing that the spirit of generosity brings joy to every heart. Good night, sweet one. Sleep tight. And that is the end of our story. Thank you for listening to GoReadling Bedtime Stories. If you enjoyed this story, press the subscribe button so you never miss a new bedtime story. We publish a brand new story every single day. Visit GoReadling.com for more stories, reading adventures, and fun learning for kids. Sweet dreams, little one. Good night.